in these challenging times. Let us welcome Rohan Tay, and he will be sharing his experiences and his journey. Welcome, Rohan.
Hi, Deepak. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today.
Thank you, Rohan. Rohan, we all know the challenging times right now, and you have ventured into this world. Before we getting into the your entrepreneur journey as well as your startup, um, walk us through your experiences for past 20 plus years.
Wow, quite a journey to kind of walk through, really. Um, I guess I started my career in ERP systems, implementing ERP systems for a variety of companies, and primarily in a consulting capacity as well. And whilst my qualifications at university wasn't to do with computer science at all, but more business management, I found myself always on projects leaning more towards helping and trying to understand more about the change systems would result in to businesses, and primarily from a people and process perspective. So over the years, as I was implementing ERPs, I got more and more into organizational change type roles in terms of helping um, manage the impact of systems to people, but also more interestingly, I started getting more and more passionate about the impact of changes to processes and helping organizations more from a process improvement perspective, which lend itself to also being qualified in Lean Six Sigma as a black belt. And that was sort of around the mid 2000 period. And I guess as a result, I started getting more into process improvement consulting, and found myself doing a lot of that with one of the big four consulting companies, and pursued a career there. And more recently, worked for a New Zealand success story as head of advisory, as you've already mentioned, nationally.
Great story, Rohan. It's not easy to be going around and looking at the world, and also getting back to the space where you want to give back to the people, whatever the experiences you have learned on. Now, getting to the venture you have started. What is this venture, and what is your helping the people?
So our business, in a nutshell, is a software solution business. It's there to help consultants, lean practitioners or process improvement practitioners, but also for businesses themselves to actually use a software that can help facilitate process improvement, but also potentially connect our software to source systems to surface some of that data that's very rich. And as a practitioner, one of the things that I've always been challenged with is the actual process or the approach of doing things like lean in itself is not lean. And the way we've been doing a lot of these improvement initiatives over the last 20 odd years really hasn't changed, which is surprising with a lot of new systems coming into play, a lot of business process management tools going out there that we don't really use as much as we can in terms of what technologies are available. So what that's led myself and a co-founder of Boxfish, our new business, to think about is, well, why can't we actually develop our own software around that's based on the methodologies and frameworks of Lean, and actually help organizations through using a software to actually facilitate a whole lean process improvement initiative. So from beginning to end. So that includes mapping and modeling processes in our software, through to, more importantly, the analysis, capturing what's waste and what's not, how long does it take to go through a process, and actually surfacing a lot of what would have been very manual, time-consuming calculations of lean analysis, letting the software actually do all that work for you. So what we wanted organizations and lean practitioners to spend more time focusing on is actually on the future state and getting business processes to a optimum state, rather than spend a lot of waste themselves in terms of time doing lean analysis.
That's in a nutshell gives entire picture of what you're trying to do for the betterment of the organizations and the helping the lean professionals and the professional services who provide the service. In this challenging time, when the organizations are going through different problems and when they are trying to solve different problems, do you think BPM would be something which people would like to, or do you suggest it is a great thing for the organizations or the companies to focus on?
Yeah, look, I think before I get into my opinion, analysts around the world are producing research, even last year, showing that with the economic downturn, regardless of the current situation, companies are actually going to be focusing more and more about efficiencies and productivity, as opposed to other strategic initiatives. Gartner themselves came out with a report last year as a result of a big CEO survey that basically focused that companies will be pursuing efficiency type of initiatives. I think now more than ever, companies need to look at internally at how they actually run their business in terms of processes, and whether or not these processes are actually driving true customer value. And if they don't, it begs the question, why are they actually doing these processes? And is that a lot of waste in their business? So I think, if anything, the current situation is actually motivating the fact that businesses actually need to look at ways to reduce cost, which is very much an efficiency play. And BPM tools allow or help enable companies to actually pursue process improvement initiatives in a very systematic way. The days of getting people into a room and focusing on brown paper on the wall and post-it notes and mapping things, and then manually analyzing that using spreadsheets, and then putting those into process mapping diagram tools, and surfacing back. That's all very manual. So BPM tools allow you to basically go through that process very efficiently, but also that from a continuous improvement perspective, help you continue to track those improvements in terms of removing waste from your processes. So absolutely, from my perspective, if anything, all the pressures of market and economic changes today to businesses, it's if anything, that's actually pushing businesses more towards how can we improve our business.
Yeah. When you say, Rohan, removing the waste from the companies or the processes, are you mentioning that the companies can redeploy them or reuse the capabilities of the people? Because that is something which we know in New Zealand, we are very close to the people and we work with the people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we talk about waste, waste comes in a number of different forms. And it can be labor waste, and it could also be machinery waste. It's not necessarily about headcount reduction, which has always been, I think, traditionally um, the misconception with lean. Lean is more of a mindset change, and it's more about looking for opportunities to free up time, and, as you mentioned, reutilize it in more value-adding um, activities. So it's not about headcount reduction at all. It's about if I can remove a lot of the manual tasks that I'm doing today, all the workarounds as a result of mistakes that happen in the workplace, if I can remove any of that and make processes as streamlined as possible, that frees myself up in terms of my time to do more analysis work, more preemptive work, as opposed to doing a lot of that, yeah, transactional rework type of activity.
Okay, that's the right way of doing it, because the moment we talk about in the corporate world and India structure, the moment we say removing the waste, the conception is people just think about taking off the people, but then there are a lot of things which an organization does without even knowing whether it's adding value or not. So it's a great thing from BPM. We take off those things and try to make it simple and what is required for the organization to run, rather than having everything over there. So that's amazing requirement what we have to look at. And that raises an important point, Rohan, from the strategy and value proposition from the organizations, right? So how does your BPM or the uh, Boxfish will help in strategizing and giving the value for your business, your clients?
So I think in in many ways, using a BPM tool and going through with process improvement is all about de-risking as much as you can in terms of your business. So in anticipation of market changes, economic changes, a company needs to be able to respond quickly and in an agile way. And by having flexible processes that are more aligned to customer value, helps them pivot faster in terms of being able to respond to customer requirements, and also even preemptive what customer requirement changes there could be in the future. From a BPM tool perspective, one of the main reasons for using a BPM tool is for that the structure in terms of frameworks that it enforces in terms of you going through a process improvement project. An effective BPM tool will force that you think about coming up with the value streams first, as well as then the processes underneath that and the steps within the processes. So that decomposition is something that a BPM tool should enforce that you think through. So it's not a bottom-up approach. It's very much a top-down, that you think about your customer. What are the value drivers that you're wanting to make to the customer? And then therefore, what are the processes and the activities do you perform within your business to enable that? Furthermore, being able to capture the analysis in those as part of the processes in terms of the data, how long does it take to do things, that just makes things in terms of decisions that you make about whether to change a process or not. It makes those decisions based on data. So the consequences of changing a process from A to B. You make that decision based on the potential waste that you're going to be removing. A lot of times I see companies just restructuring just to remove headcount without really understanding the impact of what those people that they're removing, what the impact of that is to their business and their processes. So having a tool that will be able to surface that, helps de-risk, I guess, some of those decisions that companies ultimately need to make at some point.
Very important point, Rohan, for the very reason that the easiest thing what companies do today is to just take off the headcount and say, okay, we are still in the profit and we are good at numbers and trying to manage. At that point in time, the tool like BPM will surely help the organizations to look at in a right direction and see what need to be made lean and where it has to be used in such a way that nobody is impacted. So that's the one more great point you're getting into. I think we had enough of discussing about your software and the things offerings what you're giving. Let us now get into something very specific to you and your passion for the people and the country and the organizations you work with. I know you for like 7 years now and been working in various phases. Uh, I still want to understand from you, Rohan, where is your heart is for this business and why you started the business, because you are in a very comfortable position, I know, and what dragged you to be a founder and a co-founder?
I get a lot of reward from seeing companies transition through from a place where I first encountered them um, to a better place after there's been some sort of intervention. And there's no better joy than to kind of look back and talk to the people that I've helped along the way, and for them to mention that, look, if it wasn't for whatever intervention, we would have been still stuck in our old ways. So I guess my passion and my interest in starting my own business is really um, moving to more of a software business that allows me to actually um, apply everything that I've learned over the years in terms of my experiences, my frameworks, what I've seen succeed in organizations, all designed and built into a software that other clients can use. I've always operated in the consulting field as well. So for me, one of the things I've always feel like I've missed as a consultant is tool sets that allows me to actually do things in a faster way. So building the software is also helping a lot of my peers in the consulting world that, hey, give up those spreadsheets, give up those, manual process mapping tools or what have you, um, you know, put everything into this software that you can use from beginning to end, use it as a tool set that will enable you to focus less on the manual analysis stuff that you need to do and more into the interactions with customers, and actually helping them transition into this better place that they should be.
That's a real good motive, and helping people whom we work with and ensuring that they get the benefit of what you're doing. And also being an entrepreneur, it's more for the organizations and for the colleagues whom we have worked. And you brought up a very important point that the as a person you can only reach only so much of it, but then you put through all your experiences into a software or into a product which can be shared and help much more people than what you could do alone. So that is very important, and that focus and will definitely help the people uh, who could take it into the next level. So that is a real value for you giving back for the people whom you work with and who had encouraged you for such a long time in your career. So that's well made, Rohan, and I appreciate for your focus in that space and giving back in the space where you have worked on and the challenges as a consultant, what you saw you're giving back to the people. Now we move on to the last couple of questions, and with that, I think we have a lot of other things to catch up on. One is on the AI and robotics. How would your organization would look at AI and robotics, because it's more of the looking at the processes, and how do you measure that as a success? These are the two things which I wanted to understand as an entrepreneur or as a consultant uh, for the organizations to adapt the BPMs.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting point because whether whether you're looking at robotics, RPA tools, AI tools, or even ERP systems, um, you still, all of these systems still rely on a business to have optimized processes before building those processes as workflows into those systems. So the risk of not optimizing your processes before you look at workflowing them into these systems is that you end up automating um, poor practices, poor processes that may not even result in the desired value that you want to try and drive towards for your customer, or the inefficiencies that are a result of those processes to your employees. All of those are still built into these other systems. So one way or the other, organizations still need to be able to spend time to analyze their processes and come up with an optimized state of their processes before building them into such things as automation tools, or apply the logic in AI, or designing it as part of best practices in ERPs. So the gap that I see in the market is still that you need a way, and a BPM tool allows you to do that kind of transitionary stage from current state to future state. That still adds a heck of a lot of value in coming up with a optimized state process before building it into some of these other systems. So the analogy I always say is, a lot of these systems focus on helping you run your business. BPM tools and the software that we've developed is all about helping you design your business. And I make that distinction between design and running, because you definitely want to spend time making sure that you've designed very good, solid, scalable, and pragmatic processes before cementing them into any source systems or technologies.
That's nice, nicely put, Rohan. And when do you feel fulfilled in?
Oh, that's always a tough question, right? I'm not sure if I'll ever be fulfilled, to be honest. And it's kind of like asking the question, what is a vision statement? Because in many ways, it's something you keep striving towards, but I'm not sure if you'll ever get there as such. And to be honest, my direction somewhat evolves over time as well. So what has made me motivated has always been the success of clients and the people that I work with. That's what I've always held close to my heart. I like looking back on a situation or a place and felt that through my interactions, it's in a better place than what it is today or when I left it. So that keeps me motivated, and hopefully one day I'll be completely fulfilled. But at this stage, I know I'm the right direction in terms of getting to that fulfillment. And I think with every person that I meet and help, and every organization that I meet and help, takes me one step closer.
Amazing, Rohan. That is really the right way to put in a journey of entrepreneur and trying to help the companies whom we work with and ensure they are leading to prosperity, and you are assisting them to make sure that they are getting there, and your fulfillment is more reliant on their fulfillment. So with that, we are coming to an end of our conversation. In few months time, when you have much more settled and having some more brick battles in the industry. So thank you for your time, and good luck for your organization, and wish to see Rohan with flying colors and helping many companies in New Zealand, Australia.
Thank you very much for your time, Deepak. Really appreciate it.